We're coming on the air with breaking news in the Middle East, where 2 hostages taken by Hamas were just released. It comes 3 days after Hamas released the first hostages, 2 Americans, in a deal brokered by Qatar's government.
Hamas released 2 more hostages today. This time, 2 elderly women who are Israeli were released. First, they were released to the Red Cross before being taken to a military base in Israel. Now, here are more details about the 2 women and the hostage release.
As you mentioned, a few days ago, 3 days ago, 2 American citizens were released by Hamas and reunited with their families, brought to safety. And then a short while ago, Hamas announced the release of 2 female Israeli citizens. They are Nurit Yitzhak and Yocheved Lifshitz. And Hamas said in a statement, and this release was confirmed by multiple sources, including a family source, that they were released for humanitarian reasons and urgent health reasons. Hamas also said that it accused Israel of violating agreements, of violating terms of their release, but it didn't provide any specifics. So what we do know is that now we've seen 2 releases, not back to back, but 2 in fairly close succession.
Now, just last week, following the release of the first 2 hostages, the mother and daughter who were released by Hamas, Hamas had said that they were planning on releasing 2 more hostages. At the time, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that that was not to be believed, that it was nothing more than propaganda and lies. But I am happy to share with you today that 2 women did get released. Now let's take a look at a photo of them. Nurit is 79 years old and Yocheved is 85 years old. And the Biden administration has been urging the Israeli government to avoid or at least hold off on a ground invasion into the Gaza Strip because they argue that that would put the hostages at risk. So I don't really understand how that makes sense, because doing a ground invasion would allow them to do targeted military operations targeting Hamas. Instead, right now, you have IDF soldiers bombing the hell out of the Gaza Strip from their remote location. How is that in any way better for the hostages that are currently in the Gaza Strip? I don't know, maybe people have an answer that I'm not privy to, but what do you think, Cenk?
Yeah, I don't think we're even trying to get the hostages. And when I say we, actually, I should be clear. I think the US cares about getting the hostages. I think Israel doesn't seem to show any concern about that. Now, before you think that's outrageous, let me explain why I say that. So, as far as I've seen, Israel has not promised anything in return for the hostages. They just say, you just need to give it to us, or otherwise we're gonna do this collective punishment and kill a whole bunch of innocent civilians. Okay, that's a threat, I get it. But if Hamas returned all the hostages, which is what we desperately want, Israel has not promised to not do a ground invasion or to stop bombing. So look, guys, there's no moral defense of taking the hostages or keeping the hostages. This is not a moral conversation. Now we're having a tactical conversation. And so can anyone explain to me why Hamas would give the hostages back if it wouldn't stop the bombings and it wouldn't stop a ground invasion? So normally you might hate Hamas, you might despise Hamas, but the way that these things work is you give something, they give something. They took the hostages so they could get something in return, not just for the mere sake of brutality. If they wanted brutality, they would have tortured and killed them by now. They're keeping them as leverage. So if we offer nothing in return, you could say, hey, you know what, we shouldn't offer anything in return. Let's consider them dead, right? Okay. I don't think that that's a good position. I don't think it's a morally defensible position. I mean, look, I see one of those hostages there, right? Nurit looks almost identical to Dave Kohler, who you see on the show every once in a while. He's one of my co-founders, to his mom, okay? And so I want those hostages back desperately. Whether they're American, Israeli, it doesn't matter. There's a bunch of Thai hostages. But dropping bombs on buildings and tunnels indiscriminately definitely doesn't get you the hostages back.
No.
And it might kill the hostages. So far, I have not seen one proposal for actually getting the hostages back.
So I'm gonna be unequivocal in stating this. I'm not gonna walk on eggshells because I have the goods and I wanna give you the receipts after I make the statement. Benjamin Netanyahu doesn't care about the hostages. He doesn't care about getting the hostages back. And it became abundantly clear to me, at least, after reading this unbelievable report in Haaretz about when he did meet with the family members of the hostages. They're seeking answers. He should be comforting them. He should be expressing to them what the plan is to get their family members and loved ones back from Hamas. But that is not what happened. Instead, he used it as an opportunity to install propagandists who basically told these poor people to just stop whining and forget about your family members. I'm not kidding. Let me give you the excerpts from this piece. Again, it was reported by Haaretz. Representatives of 5 families were present at the meeting that was coordinated between the Prime Minister's office and the family's headquarters for captives and missing people. During the meeting, however, members of another family, unknown to the headquarters personnel, had unexpectedly joined the discussion. According to sources, the unknown family's claims spurred an uproar in the room. Now, according to a journalist there, Ben Caspit, one of the 4 family members said during the meeting that he loves his daughter no less than the rest of you love your family members. But at the end, we have to look at the people of Israel and the future of our existence here. The family member then told Netanyahu to act coolly and decisively. Senior officials at the family's headquarters accused the Prime Minister's office of deliberately involving these unknown family members in the meeting since they were politically convenient for Netanyahu. The unknown family members were also captured in photos alongside Netanyahu, although it is not clear who took them. So the Prime Minister and his office claim, no, we didn't. What are you talking about? We didn't invite anyone. This is just these are people who have been victimized by Hamas. Their family members have been taken hostage and they showed up on their own. We have nothing to do with this. Okay, hold on. So the story gets a little more questionable. Journalist Jackie Levi and his partner, whose 5 family members were abducted to Gaza, said last night in an interview that Netanyahu tried to create a divide between families. There's a deliberate intention here. We are sure of that. No one knew him, meaning the guy who showed up and started defending Netanyahu and how he's handling the hostage situation. We're looking into who he is and who he represents because it cannot be that he just showed up out of nowhere to a meeting with the Prime Minister. So this guy comes out and says, I'm gonna clear my name. I'm gonna let everyone know who I am. So his name is Zvika Moore. He said that his son Ethan had been missing since the attack. And he said, no one can just opportunely come in and meet with the Prime Minister. We represent 4 families whose loved ones were abducted, and we wanted to convey a national message to Netanyahu. We need to stop this whiny behavior. We need to win the war. In a time of war, the people of Israel have to make sacrifices even when our children are there and prevail. Well, Haaretz updated the story. Guess who that guy was? Let's take a look at the next graphic. It has since emerged that the man is a far-right activist with ties to members of the Netanyahu family, but no known ties to the hostages.
Of course. Look, if you can't tell that Benjamin Netanyahu is a giant liar, you're not following the news very carefully, or you're too biased to see straight. Like unfortunately, it's very similar to the guys who can't tell that Donald Trump is a liar. Everything is a lie. Netanyahu, I'm not corrupt. I'm not getting rid of the Supreme Court to help my corruption case. We just, the Supreme Court shouldn't be allowed to, make these decisions that dares disagree with my government, right? Everything's a lie. I'm trying to get the hostages, but I brought in this rando to tell you
stop whining.
We shouldn't even get the hostages.
Stop whining.
And you should stop whining. There's nobody who has a son who's a hostage that goes in and tells everybody we shouldn't bother to get the hostages. Why did Netanyahu put in a plant there to yell at the family members to stop whining and that we shouldn't bother to get the hostages? That's because Netanyahu is a goddamn liar and he doesn't care about the hostages at all. And by the way, if he cared about the Israelis that were killed, he had a funny way of showing it. Terrible intelligence, just let Hamas walk in there and do all this damage. And now the only thing he cares about is how many Palestinians can he kill. So far he's killed 3 times as many Palestinian civilians as Israelis that were killed. And I guess he's just counting up all of the dead, the body count that he's put out there. And I don't know what kind of a sick, depraved human being Benjamin Netanyahu is, but he has no interest in your family members. He doesn't seem to have any interest in protecting Israelis. All he cares about is himself and how many Palestinians he can murder.
If you enjoyed this video, that's because of our members. They make us independent, they make us strong, and they make us honest. Become a member today by hitting the join button below.